I transmigrated into a damsel in distress novel as the male supporting character. I arrived on the exact day the character was supposed to give the keys to $1 million luxury car to the female lead, an intern at his company. Instead, she threw the car keys right back at my face. Mr. Hawthorne, don't think that just because you're giving me a luxury car, I'll fall all over myself with gratitude. My family may be poor, but I will not accept your charity. Don't even think you can humiliate me like this, and another thing, please stop harassing me during work hours. I will never like you. Rows of comments scrolled across my vision. WTF, so what if he's rich? If you're going to give a gift, can't you do it privately? Why does he have to humiliate our Willow baby in public? This supporting character is so malicious. Just because he has a few dirty bucks, he's been hounding the female lead for years. Exactly, if it weren't for him, the main couple would have gotten together ages ago. He deserves it when the main couple joins forces to bankrupt him and destroy his family in the end. Reading the comments, I let out a mocking smile. Without a moment's hesitation, I pocketed the car keys. Since you feel I'm humiliating you, I'll just take this back. Oh, and that designer handbag I gave you last week, and the $1 million watch I gave you 3 months ago for your college graduation. Since you consider them all humiliations, you can return them all at once. I turned to my assistant standing behind me. Ms. Miller has failed to close a single deal during her 3-month internship. According to company policy, she has not passed her probationary period and will not be hired. My assistant nodded respectfully. Understood, Mr. Hawthorne. The comments exploded instantly. WTF, he wants everything back? What are you doing, you simp? How can you take back something you've already given away? Somebody get the screenwriter. Why did the plot change? My girlfriend was 5 years my junior. She was a student at S University. I covered all her expenses, yet she was getting cozy with a male student she was sponsoring with my money. When I found out, I immediately froze her cards, canceled the contracts with her father's company. Her family faced bankruptcy, and she came crawling back, crying and kneeling, begging for my forgiveness. She said she knew she was wrong, that she loved me most of all. Get lost. Belated affection is worthless. At midnight, I closed the last file on a merger and acquisition. Outside the window, the city was a brilliant tapestry of lights. Just then, my phone screen lit up. A message from Vivian Ashwood popped up. Sincere, I had the kitchen keep some nourishing soup warm for you. Remember to drink it when you get back. Such a thoughtful gesture sent a wave of warmth through me. I rubbed the bridge of my nose and pressed the intercom. Charles, get the car ready. Isn't he supposed to shamelessly beg her to accept it? This guy is just trying to force our Willow baby to be with him, so cringe. Sincere, calm down. So what if she doesn't like you? How can you stop being good to her? The female lead froze in shock. Wait, this isn't how the story is supposed to go. Chapter 1. In the original book, my name was Sincere Hawthorne, the male supporting character in a savior novel, whose only purpose was to shower the female lead with money and resources. The female lead was Willow Miller, a young woman the Hawthorne family had sponsored since she was a child. The first time Sincere Hawthorne saw her, he was deeply moved. Willow was only 8 years old that year. Her father had died in a mining accident. The mine owner compensated her family with $200,000. That very night, her mother took the money and ran, vanishing without a trace and leaving not a single cent for Willow and her elderly grandmother. Half an hour later, I was at Hillcrest Manor. I opened the door to find Vivian curled up on the sofa, scrolling through her phone. The hem of her silk robe had ridden up to the top of her thighs. On the coffee table was the late-night snack the butler had prepared, truffle-stewed eggs with caviar. Beside it sat a newly delivered, limited-edition Hermes handbag, the satin ribbon on the box still untouched. Hearing me, she padded over barefoot to take my suit jacket, a fresh, clean scent wafting from her, as if she'd just stepped out of the shower. Sincere, you're back. Vivian kissed my cheek. The SA at Hermes said that Crocodile Birkin came in. There are only 3 in the world, and I undid my cufflinks as I walked toward the bedroom. If you like it, order it. You're the best, Sincere. She leaned in and kissed my cheek again. Oh, by the way, about that startup project from my underclassman Ethan Miller. I read his business plan, and it's really brilliant. From then on, Willow had to juggle school with collecting scrap just to take care of her grandmother. Life was incredibly difficult. Sometimes they didn't even have enough to eat. At 8 years old, Willow was so sallow and scrawny she looked closer to 6. When Sincere's mother learned of their situation, she immediately decided to sponsor her. For all these years, the Hawthorne family paid for every single one of their expenses. When Willow started college, they even let her move into the Hawthorne family villa for convenience. By this time, Willow had blossomed into a real beauty. She stood timidly at the villa's entrance, clutching the hem of her clothes, her large eyes filled with anxiety. Sincere rushed to take her hand, his smile radiant. "Willow, don't be nervous. From now on, just think of this as your own home." Over time, Sincere's initial pity for her slowly transformed into love. Every time Sincere gave Willow a gift, she would first sternly refuse. Sincere, thinking she saw money as dirt, wasn't annoyed in the slightest. In fact, he was delighted. Only after Sincere's repeated pleading would Willow reluctantly accept. As soon as she graduated from college, Sincere arranged for her to intern at his family's company. Willow made a promise. The day she could stand on her own 2 feet, she would marry him. Sincere was ecstatic. He promoted her step by step until she became the vice president of the Hawthorne Group. He never expected that while Willow was enjoying the resources provided by his family, she was mocking him behind his back as a rich, stupid simp. In the end, she colluded with her college flame, the novel's male protagonist, to steal the Hawthorne Group's core technology and strategic projects. This ultimately led to the Hawthorne family's bankruptcy. The original Sincere's parents were hounded to death by creditors. He himself was framed by the main couple and sent to prison. When they visited him in prison, they didn't forget to twist the knife. Willow's eyes were filled with hatred. Her eyes lit up, but then she bit her lip as if remembering something. "But the deadline for financing is tomorrow, and he's short $50,000 for the security deposit." I stopped in my tracks. This was the 3rd time she had brought up his name this week. Ethan Miller was a scholarship student we were sponsoring. According to her, he was a hard worker with a gambling-addicted father and a hospitalized mother. She tugged at my sleeve, shaking it gently. "He's trying so hard, and his family situation is incredibly difficult. His parents are just ordinary people. He gets by entirely on scholarships." $50,000? I pulled my arm away, took the black card from my wallet, and handed it to her. "Handle it yourself." $50,000? That's less than the cost of a single gear in my watch, as long as she's happy. As she took the card, her fingertip lightly scratched my palm, a silent, familiar signal. We had rehearsed this routine countless times over the past 5 years. She would ask. I would give, and I'd receive an intimate night as my reward. "Sincere Hawthorne, if you hadn't kept pestering me, I would have been with my love, Ethan, a long time ago. Your family getting what they have today is just what you deserve." Ethan Jennings wrapped his arm around her waist and sneered at Sincere. "Sincere, you're nothing but a simp, so what if you have money? Willow and I got to where we are today through our own hard work. True strength is earning dignity and success through your own merits. And you? You are nothing more than our stepping stone, Chapter 2. At that moment, the stunned Willow Miller finally snapped back to reality. Her eyes flickered with panic for a second before being overwhelmed by the rage of being humiliated. "Sincere Hawthorne, must you resort to playing hard to get to force me to submit? Do you think I'll yield to you just because of this?" She took a deep breath, her eyes filled with a thick disgust. "If you think firing me and demanding your gifts back is a threat that will make me bend to your will, then you are gravely mistaken. I, Willow Miller, can get anything I want through my own merit. I will never bow my head to you." The comments flew across the screen. "Wow, our Willow baby is so headstrong she won't let his scheme succeed." "Ha, playing hard to get, how interesting. Isn't Mr. Hawthorne's tactic a bit pathetic? Hold on, Willow, he's just posturing. As if he could really bear to let you go. I bet you in less than 3 days he'll be on his knees begging you to come back." I clapped my hands theatrically, my smile growing more mocking. Yes, you're right about everything. I'm sure you can get whatever you want through your own merit. But you've been talking for a while now. Are you giving the stuff back or not?" As soon as I said that, many of the employees who had gathered to watch the spectacle burst out laughing. The laughter pierced Willow like 1,000 needles, making her skin crawl. But tonight, I turned away from her approaching lips. "I still have some work to do. You go shower first. "Oh, okay," she gave me a hug and skipped happily toward the bathroom. Soon the sound of running water filled the air. I stood before her vanity. Dozens of lipsticks were scattered across the crystal-encrusted surface, each tube bearing a custom gilded logo of her name. Suddenly I noticed a flyer for a university startup competition tucked underneath everything. In the winner's photo, a handsome young man in a cheap suit was smiling shyly at the camera. It was Ethan Miller. What was strange was the lower right corner of the photo, where someone had drawn a small heart in lipstick. I picked up the flyer. The back was printed with the contestant's contact information. Next to a QR code for his social media was a line of elegant handwriting, "Go Ethan, your big sis." The sound of the shower stopped abruptly. A moment later, Vivian emerged, wrapped in a sheer negligee. Her cheeks flushed crimson, and her body trembled slightly with humiliation and anger. "You," she repeated "you" several times but couldn't form a complete sentence. The comments scrolled furiously. "Damn, Mr. Hawthorne is twisting the knife. She's talking about dignity and principles, and all you care about is getting the gifts back?" Pfft, I'm sorry, this part made me laugh. Mr. Hawthorne is terrifyingly clear-headed. "Willow, I'm defending my dignity, Sincere. Cut the crap and give me back my stuff. It's over. It's over. I think Mr. Hawthorne is serious this time. He really doesn't seem to care about her feelings at all." "Willow, baby, don't panic. This cringe guy is just trying to embarrass you and force you to submit. Exactly, even if you give it back, won't he come crawling back to you with it in 3 days? Under the weight of this massive public humiliation, Willow finally clenched her jaw and painfully handed over all the recent gifts I had given her. She stared daggers at me, her eyes blazing with fury. "Sincere, Hawthorne, are you really going to fire me? I'm telling you, if you beg me to stay now, it's not too late otherwise. Even if you get on your knees and beg me later, I will never come back to your company." Her words shocked everyone around us. The Hawthorne Group was the leading corporation in Newport City. Countless people would kill for a position here, and she was a fresh graduate from a no-name university. Who gave her this audacity? If Mr. Hawthorne hadn't personally arranged it, she wouldn't have even qualified for an interview. Besides, not closing a single deal in 3 months? The nerve of this woman. Thank God Mr. Hawthorne has finally come to his senses. Otherwise, she would have driven him crazy eventually. I raised an eyebrow at her, my eyes filled with mockery. "Don't let the door hit you on the way out." Willow stared blankly at me for a good 10 seconds before finally clenching her teeth and walking away decisively. "Sincere, Hawthorne, I'll make you regret this, ha? Regret?" She threw her arms around my neck and whispered, "Sincere, the luckiest thing that ever happened to me was meeting you." A long, passionate night began. I rarely visited Vivian's university, but today was an exception. The Hawthorne Group had a partnership program with S University, and as a member of the Board of Trustees, I was invited to attend an entrepreneurial forum at the business school. On stage, a professor in a sharp suit was speaking eloquently, but my gaze was fixed on a figure in the guest section, Vivian. She was wearing a beige suit from Chanel's latest collection, her long hair in soft curls. She held a pen, writing intently in a notebook. Intently! I narrowed my eyes. Leaning forward slightly, I tried to see what she was writing. Her notebook was tilted just enough for me to get a clear view of the dense script. "Ethan, you were amazing at the forum today. Your project is definitely going to be a success. I believe in you. Same place tonight? Let's see who makes whom regret. Does she really think I'm the same old simp? She's nothing but an ungrateful brat. You can never let someone like that get powerful. That would be digging your own grave." Chapter 3. After Willow left, I immediately had my assistant investigate the current situation of Ascend Corp. Ascend Corp was the startup founded by the male protagonist Ethan Jennings. It was still in its infancy. To be safe, it was best to strangle it in the cradle. On second thought, I also called the bank and froze my supplementary credit card. Whenever Willow was upset, she had a habit of taking her friends on a shopping spree. After our public falling out today, she was bound to go on a revenge shopping binge to make me bleed money. As if I'd let her use my card again. I headed home for lunch. As soon as I got in the car, the chauffeur, Robert Bob Lee, didn't start the engine. I frowned. "Bob, what are you waiting for?" Bob looked at me just as confused. "Sir, young master Miss Miller isn't down yet. Aren't you going to wait for her?" "Uncle Lee," I said impatiently. "Are you my driver or are you Willow Miller's driver?" Bob chuckled nervously. "Young master, what are you saying? Of course I'm your driver." "Then drive." I leaned back in my seat and slowly closed my eyes. From now on, you don't need to wait for her ever again. Yes, young master. Bob glanced at me in the rearview mirror for a second, looking like he wanted to say something but thought better of it. He skillfully started the car. The car moved smoothly out of the corporate parking garage and merged onto the main road. Chapter 4. On Newport City's most glamorous shopping street, the moment Willow met up with her friends, they knew something was wrong. These were her friends from college. Willow was always generous, swiping her card without a second thought, which naturally made her the center of their little circle. They sidled up to her, grinning. A faint smile played on her lips as her fingertips gently caressed the page, as if stroking something precious. My expression remained impassive as I lifted my coffee and took a sip. Bitter. After the forum, I was waiting for my driver at the university gate. Vivian came jogging over, her cheeks flushed and her breathing a little ragged. "Sincere, what are you doing here?" She looked up at me, her eyes filled with surprise, as if she truly had no idea I would be attending. I looked down at her, my eyes landing on her slightly disheveled collar. A very faint lipstick stain, smudged on the pristine white fabric. It was a shade of pinkish orange, the same color she was wearing today. "The forum was interesting," I said flatly. Her eyes lit up, and she immediately linked her arm with mine. "Right? Ethan's project has so much potential." Even the dean was nodding when he gave his speech today. Her tone was filled with undisguised pride, as if showing off a prized pet she'd raised herself. "Willow, how come you have time to ask us out shopping today? Aren't you interning at Hawthorne Group? Don't tell me you had a fight with Mr. Hawthorne." Willow let out a cold snort but didn't confirm or deny it. Seeing this, her friends exchanged knowing smiles. "Oh, please." As if Mr. Hawthorne would dare to argue with our Willow. "He's just a simp at her beck and call. Mr. Hawthorne must have done something to upset our Willow, so she came out to blow off some steam. I bet you anything. Before the day is over, Mr. Hawthorne will come crawling back to please our girl." They all knew that although Sincere was a high and mighty CEO, in front of Willow Miller, he was nothing more than an obedient dog. A few words of flattery from her friends, and Willow's foul mood from the morning vanished into thin air. She was back to her usual confident, arrogant self. She curved her lips into a smile. "Whatever you guys want to buy today, pick it out." "It's on me." At her words, her friends cheered. A flicker of triumph crossed their faces, but they quickly continued their flattery. "That's our Willow, always so good to us. Willow is so amazing, she deserves someone better. How could a veteran simp like Sincere Hawthorne ever be worthy of her?" The group swarmed around Willow as they entered a designer handbag store. After a shopping frenzy, the total came to $130,000, but when it was time to pay, everyone was dumbfounded. Willow swiped the card 4 or 5 times, but it failed each time. "What's going on?" The smile on Willow's face instantly froze. The embarrassment was palpable. She steeled herself and tried one more time. After it failed again, the sales clerk returned the card to her with a polite but distant expression. "Ma'am, this card has indeed been frozen. It cannot be used." "Frozen? How could it be frozen?" Chapter 5. Willow's face turned pale. She gripped the bank card so tightly her knuckles turned white. "Willow, what's wrong?" Her friends realized something was amiss and crowded around her. I gently withdrew my arm, pulled a cigarette case from my inner jacket pocket, and slowly tapped one out. "Sincere?" she asked, looking at me with a hint of confusion. I didn't answer. I just lit the cigarette, took a deep drag, and let the smoke curl in my lungs before exhaling slowly. "Vivian," I began, my voice low, "have you been a bit too concerned with this underclassman lately?" Her expression froze for a second, then she smiled even more sweetly. "Of course not. I just think he's very talented and wanted to help him out." "Help him?" I scoffed, flicking the ash from my cigarette. "With my money?" Her smile finally faltered. In the distance, a red sports car was slowly approaching the Porsche 911 I'd bought her. The window rolled down, and in the driver's seat a handsome young man was looking our way. Ethan Miller. The color drained from Vivian's face. I crushed the cigarette, my gaze sweeping between her and Ethan before finally settling on her trembling fingertips. "Vivian," I asked softly, "maybe you hit the limit? Want to try a different card? Mr. Hawthorne didn't freeze your card, did he?" Willow grew more and more flustered. She had her own bank card, of course, but the balance couldn't even cover a fraction of the cost of these bags. Willow?" One of her closer friends asked tentatively, a hint of suspicion in her eyes. "Are we still buying these bags?" "Yes, of course we are. I need to make a phone call first. You guys wait here." The looks in her friend's eyes stung Willow deeply. She was used to being put on a pedestal, the undisputed center of her circle. If she couldn't pay today, her entire image would crumble. She frantically dug her phone out of her purse and ran to a corner to make a call, leaving her friends to stare at each other. They glanced at the expensive, already packaged bags on the counter, their expressions turning sour. "What's the deal?" a freckle-faced friend muttered under her breath. "You don't think Willow is actually broke, do you?" "No way. Mr. Hawthorne dotes on her. It's only $130,000. Remember that trip we took after graduation? She paid for everything, didn't she? But did you see how embarrassed she looked just now? Her face was completely white. It wasn't long before the phone rang. It was Willow. The second I answered, an angry voice shot through the receiver. "Sincere Hawthorne, why did you cancel my card? Do you think this is funny? Don't you know how much your childish behavior disgusts me? Stop this nonsense and unfreeze the card right now." Hearing her demanding tone, I scoffed. "Ms. Miller, are you confused? Is there a problem with me freezing my own card? Besides, why the hell should I pay for your shopping spree? Am I your father or your ATM? A brain is a useful thing, Ms. Miller. Try to use yours next time you speak." With that, I hung up the phone. Chapter 6. Tonight, are you taking my car home or his? I had the driver take Vivian home first. She sat in the passenger seat, her fingers clenched tightly around the seatbelt, glancing at me from time to time as if she wanted to speak but didn't dare. I kept my head down, scrolling through financial reports on my tablet, my expression calm, as if the confrontation at the university gate had never happened. But some things, once torn open, can never be pretended away. The car stopped in front of Hillcrest Manor, and Vivian finally broke the silence. "Sincere, did you misunderstand something?" I looked up, my gaze landing coolly on her face. She bit her lip, her eyes turning red. "There's really nothing between Ethan and me. I think he has a lot of potential and wanted to give him a hand." "A hand?" I chuckled, swiped a finger across my tablet, pulled up a file and handed it to her. "Transaction records from the last 3 months. The color drained from Vivian's face instantly. The comments started scrolling rapidly again. "Ah, the male supporting character is truly malicious. He's just trying to humiliate our Willow baby. Oh my God, on what grounds can he cancel her card? Just because our Willow baby doesn't like him? Men are all the same. They change their tune faster than you can flip a page. He's just trying to force her to submit, isn't he? Are the people above me insane? It's Mr. Hawthorne's card. What's wrong with him freezing his own supplementary card? Am I your father or your ATM? LOL, Mr. Hawthorne's comeback is brilliant. A brain is a useful thing, but it seems like the female lead forgot to bring hers. So not being able to spend his money makes him malicious? Then what do you call your Willow baby, who wants her cake and eats it too?" Hearing the dial tone, Willow almost shattered her teeth in anger. With no other choice, she called Ethan Jennings for help. When Ethan heard she needed $130,000, he thought he was mishearing things. "Willow, you know my company is still in its startup phase. $130,000 is really not a small amount." Willow knew she was asking for a lot right off the bat, and felt a little guilty. But she had no other options, so she pressed on. "Ethan, I know things are tough for you right now. How about this? You're competing for that $500 million resort project on the east side, right? Your company is just starting out. You can't possibly compete with the Hawthorne Group. A $500 million project is nothing to Hawthorne Group. But it's different for you. If you can land this project, your company, Ascend Corp., will make a huge name for itself after that. You'll be able to pick and choose any project you want. I can persuade Sincere to let you have this project. Ethan, don't worry. I'll pay you back the $130,000 as soon as I can." At her words, Ethan's breathing quickened. "Willow, I believe you." After paying for the items, Willow finally let out a huge sigh of relief. The comments were filled with envy. "Wow, our male protagonist is so considerate of Willow. This is true love, I'm so jealous." Tuition, living expenses, startup capital, even his mother's medical bills. I read aloud in a slow, deliberate voice. "Vivian, you seem to care more about him than you do about me." Her fingers trembled, and a hint of panic crept into her voice. "Sincere, let me explain." "No need to explain." I took the tablet back, my tone even. "I have a business dinner tonight. I won't be back." The moment the car door closed, I saw her through the window, standing there, pale, as if all her confidence had been stripped away. But this was far from enough. Half an hour later, on the top floor of the Hawthorne Group Tower. My personal assistant, Charles Lawson, was already waiting in my office, holding a newly compiled file. "Mr. Hawthorne, I have the information," he said, handing me the folder. "Miss Ashwood's contact with Ethan Miller is more frequent than we initially thought." I opened the file, my eyes scanning pages of security camera screenshots, chat logs, and spending records. Is our Willow baby going to help the male protagonist's company grow ahead of schedule? Yes, steal all the supporting characters' projects and resources and bankrupt the Hawthorne Group. Yeah, serves him right for having designs on our Willow baby. Hey, persuade Sincere to give up the project? Where does she get this confidence? She's going to get her face slapped so hard. Chapter 7. I had just returned to the villa after a business dinner that evening when the housekeeper, Brenda Webb, walked towards me with a reproachful look on her face. "Young master, Willow told me everything. You're being utterly ridiculous. Ms. Willow just didn't accept the luxury car you offered. How could you fire her for that? And you even canceled Ms. Willow's card. Is that any way to behave? Don't you know that this will make Ms. Willow angry? Aren't you afraid she'll never speak to you again?" The comments instantly lit up with excitement. "Brenda, well done, scold him hard, make this simp recognize reality." Brenda is the ultimate mouthpiece. A young master like him needs to be taught a lesson, to be reminded of his place. Exactly, Sincere is just a supporting character meant to give money and resources to save the female lead. Does he really think he's the protagonist? "Mr. Hawthorne, wake up, even your housekeeper dares to lecture you." It was then that I remembered. This Brenda Webb was Willow Miller's distant great-aunt. After my character's parents went abroad to expand the business, this housekeeper, banking on her relationship with Willow, started acting high and mighty around the house. She collected the highest salary but did absolutely nothing. The original Sincere, trying to please Willow, naturally did his best to please Brenda. Over time, she stopped seeing herself as a servant and started acting like she was his elder. Every now and then she would nag him to show off her status in the household. This had become a common sight in the Hawthorne estate. The first document contained the chat history between Vivian and Ethan. "Vivian, today's meeting was so boring. All I could think about was what you said last night, Ethan. I wear the shirt you got me every day. All my classmates are so jealous I have such a thoughtful big sis. Vivian, he's flying to Singapore tonight. Same place?" The second document was a statistical summary of their meetings. They met at least 3 times a week, at locations including cafes, the library, and even Ethan's rented apartment. The luxury goods Vivian bought for him, from clothes to watches, totaled over $300,000. The most ironic part was that Ethan had been bragging to his classmates about bagging a sugar mama. In the chat logs, he referred to Vivian as his ATM big sis. What about Miller's background check? Average grades, failed 3 courses. Charles pulled up Ethan's academic record, but he's very active in student groups, often showing off the luxury gifts he receives from a beautiful older sister. It seemed Willow had told Brenda about today's events, and this elder felt it was her duty to educate me. But I wasn't that spineless loser anymore. I wasn't going to put up with her. I slapped her across the face. "Who gave you the nerve to speak to your master like that?" The crisp sound of the slap echoed through the villa's living room. The other servants froze, staring over in stunned disbelief. Chapter 8. Brenda clutched her face, her eyes wide with disbelief that quickly turned to shock and fury. You dare to hit me?" she shrieked, her voice cracking. The comments were just as stunned. "WTF, Mr. Hawthorne got physical." "Ah, young master, how could you hit Brenda? She's Ms. Willow's great-aunt." He's lost it. As the supporting character completely gone insane. He even dares to hit an elder. What elder? She's a housekeeper on payroll. Does she really think she's the lady of the house? Aha, that was a good one, so satisfying to watch. That old hag has had it coming for a long time. "Mr. Hawthorne, my house, my rules." I ignored the comments and shook my hand. My eyes were ice cold as I stared at Brenda. "So what if I hit you, you ill-mannered thing? Has my family been too good to you?" Brenda met my gaze and felt an unexplainable panic, but she still tried to talk tough. I'm Willow's great-aunt. How dare you treat me like this? I'll tell Willow and make sure she never speaks to you again for the rest of her life." I couldn't help but let out a short, sharp laugh, cutting her off. Willow Miller? And who the hell is she? Just an ungrateful brat my family raised. I took a step forward, looking down on Brenda. You're fired. Pack your things right now and get the hell out of my house this time. Brenda was completely stunned. Fired? You dare to fire me? I've worked diligently for your Hawthorne family for so many years. Diligently? I looked at her mockingly. Last month, a girl from the literature department gave him a Mont Blanc fountain pen. When Miss Ashwood found out, she immediately bought him a limited edition Patek Philippe. My finger paused on the last photograph under the cover of night. Vivian was on her tiptoes, kissing Ethan's cheek. The date on the photo was from the day I left on a business trip last month. Notify the finance department. Freeze all supplementary cards under Vivian Ashwood's name. My voice was terrifyingly calm. And prepare a complete financial audit and a legal assessment report. Mr. Hawthorne, are you planning to, since she enjoys playing this charity game so much, I said, turning back to my desk, then let's have her experience what it truly means to lose everything. Charles asked in a low voice. How should we proceed? I leaned back slowly in my chair. We're going to slowly, methodically ruin them. The prey is more interesting when you slowly corner it. The next day, at the S University Incubation Center. You mean collecting the highest salary while doing no work and daring to lecture your master? Is that it? Brenda was speechless, her face turning beet red. Her mouth moved, but she couldn't find a single word to refute me. I turned to Mr. Fulton, the butler. Mr. Fulton, get this person out of here immediately. I'd like to see who dares touch my Aunt Willow Miller walked in with a frown, her eyes dark and angry. Seeing her great niece arrive, Brenda looked as if she had finally found her savior. Her eyes immediately reddened, and she put on a pitiful expression. Willow, you're finally back. I only said a few words on your behalf. Not only did the young master slap me, but now he wants to throw me out. You have to stand up for me, Chapter 9. Hearing this, Willow became even more furious. Sincere Hawthorne, how long are you going to keep this up? You not only fired me and canceled my card, but now you want to fire my aunt? Don't you know that your spoiled rich boy tantrums can cause a hard-working person to lose their job? That it can rob an ordinary family of their livelihood? You're a high and mighty young master. How can you be so blind to the struggles of us poor people? The comments were instantly flooded with praise. Aw, our Willow baby's values are so upright, and she's so kind, always thinking about the struggles of us common folk. A heartless capitalist like Sincere Hawthorne. What does he know about human suffering? Firing Brenda is cutting off her lifeline. That's just too cruel. Go Willow, you can't be nice to a simp. WTF, is she starting with the moral blackmail again? Mr. Hawthorne, shut her down. I couldn't help but laugh at her ridiculous logic in the comments. Seeing me smile without saying anything, Willow thought I was taking her words to heart and continued. Good, it seems the young master realizes his own problems. How about this, you give my aunt a $50,000 gift as a formal apology and we'll call it even. I stood at the end of the hall watching Ethan Miller in the conference room, excitedly explaining his startup project. The few investors sitting in the audience were all people I had arranged. His PowerPoint was flashy, but the content was hollow, with several data points clearly fabricated. But Vivian sat in the front row, looking up at him with eyes full of adoration. I walked slowly into the conference room. Every eye in the room instantly turned to me. Ethan's presentation came to an abrupt halt, his face stiffening. Vivian shot to her feet, her voice trembling slightly. Sincere, what are you doing here? I ignored her, walking straight up to Ethan and picking up his business proposal. Your business model is full of holes, and the financial projections are pure fantasy. I looked up, a cold smile on my face. And you have the nerve to ask for investment with this? The room was silent. Also, I haven't settled the score with you for embarrassing me today. You must kneel before me, apologize, and admit you were wrong. Only then will I consider forgiving you. What the hell? What kind of insane logic is this? Are all female-oriented novels this brainless? I slapped her right across the face. Apologize. Apologize my ass, I barked at the butler. Mr. Fulton, restrain these two ungrateful wretches. Mr. Fulton had long been fed up with these two idiots. He was a long-serving retainer of the Hawthorne family. Ever since these two arrived, they had shown him no respect. Now, seeing his young master finally come to his senses, he was so moved he almost cried tears of joy. He immediately had the security guards pin both women to the floor. Chapter 10. Willow's fair cheek was pressed firmly against the cold floor. A fiery sting spread across her face. Her mind was still reeling. When she finally processed what had happened, she let out a piercing scream. "Sincere Hawthorne, you dare to hit me?" "Let me go right now or I'm going to get really angry," the comments exploded. WTF, what the hell is this supporting character doing? Our Willow baby is so kind, how could he do this to her? Aw, my heart breaks for our Willow baby. That slap shattered my heart into a million pieces. Look, her face is all swollen. Aha, yes, so satisfying. Mr. Hawthorne is a legend. That slap spoke for all of us men. Mr. Hawthorne, I was blind before, but now I'm wide awake 666. I slowly squatted down, lifted Willow's chin, and spoke in an icy tone. "Willow Miller, if my family wasn't so kind-hearted, do you really think you'd be living in this house? Do you think you would have had a life free of worry for the past decade? Your grandmother has been bedridden for years. Who provided her with the best medical care? After all these years, if my family had raised a dog, it would have learned some loyalty by now, but you, Willow Miller, you take my kindness for granted and dare to shout at me?" Ethan's face went from pale to flushed, his fingers clutching the presentation script so tightly his knuckles turned white. Vivian rushed over and grabbed my sleeve. "Sincere, Ethan is just inexperienced, but he's really trying hard." I turned to look at her, my voice gentle but every word a dagger. "Vivian, are you sure you want to plead his case in front of all these people?" Her hand flinched as if burned, and she let go of my sleeve. As I turned to leave, I heard Ethan's gritted teeth snarl from behind me. "Vivian Ashwood, didn't you say he doesn't care how you spend his money? See? The drama of dogs turning on each other is always so entertaining." I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of Hillcrest Manor, a glass of whiskey in my hand, the ice slowly melting in the amber liquid. When Vivian came in, she looked flustered. "Sincere," her voice trembled. "I need to talk to you." I didn't turn around, just gazed at the bustling city lights outside. "About what?" "You secretly sell the gifts I've given you over the years to fund Ethan Jennings's startup, and now you have the gall to demand that I kneel and apologize to you? Where is your shame?" In the book, this despicable pair fed off the Hawthorne family's resources, growing stronger and stronger. The first thing they did once they had power was bankrupt my family and leave us for dead. And a venomous scorpion like this is the great female protagonist of this story? Give me a break. I stood up and ordered the butler, "Drag these two wretches away and teach them a proper lesson." A flicker of excitement crossed Mr. Fulton's eyes. "Yes, young master," seeing that I was serious, Willow began to panic and struggle violently. "Sincere Hawthorne, are you insane? Let me go," but no matter how much they struggled, the guards dragged them away. Immediately after, the sound of sharp slaps and desperate cries filled the air. Willow was finally scared. She begged for mercy. "Sincere, I was wrong. Please, please let me go." "I'll never treat you like that again. I really know I was wrong. It hurts so much, boo-hoo. Please stop hitting me." Chapter 11. I knew they'd had enough. "It's more fun to play with your food slowly." I waved a hand at Mr. Fulton. "All right, that's enough for today. Throw these two out. From now on, they are not to set foot in the Hawthorne estate without my permission." The butler bowed and left, ordering the staff to throw all their luggage out onto the street. The two of them cried outside for a while, but seeing that I remained unmoved, they finally clenched their teeth and left, their faces full of resentment. It seems that in the world of female-oriented novels, reason doesn't work. You have to speak with your fists. She came up behind me, her fingers tentatively gripping the sleeve of my suit, just as she had countless times before when she wanted something. "I know you're angry, but there's really nothing between Ethan and me. He's just an underclassman. An underclassman?" I let out a soft laugh and finally turned around, my icy gaze fixed on her face. "An underclassman worth over $300,000, an underclassman worth visiting at his apartment late at night? An underclassman worth." I pulled my phone from my pocket and opened the photo from the investigation. In the picture, Vivian was on her tiptoes, kissing Ethan on the lips. The color drained from her face. Her fingers went limp, releasing my sleeve, and she stumbled back a few steps. "Sincere, let me explain." Her voice was already laced with tears. "Explain what?" I put my phone away, my tone terrifyingly calm. "Explain how you used my money to keep another man? Or explain how you told me I love you most, Sincere, while sleeping with him. Her pupils constricted, as if she never expected me to be so blunt. The comments were dominated by angry messages. Ah, how could you treat our Willow baby like this? That supporting character deserves to die. Sincere, enjoy it while you can. When the main couple joins forces to destroy your family, you'll be the one crying. The Hawthorns gave Willow everything, and she repays them by conspiring with an outsider to ruin them. Does an ungrateful brat like that even deserve to be the female lead? Shut up, you. The only reason he was nice to her was to get in her pants. Don't make him sound so noble. Exactly does being rich mean you can do whatever you want? He's not worthy. Willow supported her great aunt as they walked down the street. Both of them looked utterly wretched. Brenda sighed, looking worriedly at Willow. Willow, the young master seemed different today. You don't think he doesn't like you anymore, do you? Willow snorted coldly. Sincere has only ever been good to me his entire life. He's been my simp for over a decade. How could he change just like that? Brenda was even more confused. Then why did he treat us like that today? Willow said with conviction. He's just jealous because I haven't agreed to be with him and I've been getting close to Ethan. Does he really think this is the way to make me submit? She patted Brenda's hand reassuringly. Aunt Brenda, don't worry. When he sees this method isn't working, he'll go back to being nice to me like he always has. I'll just give him the cold shoulder for a few days. I guarantee he'll be begging me to come back within 3 days. You just rest up at home for a few days, and I'll arrange for you to come back to the Hawthorn house then. Hearing Willow's confidence, Brenda gradually relaxed. She felt the stinging pain on her cheek and added angrily, Willow, when he comes begging you to go back, you have to play hard to get. Don't agree so easily. You have to teach him a good lesson. We can't have taken this beating for nothing. Willow smiled, full of confidence. Don't worry, Aunt Brenda. When the time comes, I'll make that simp Sincere Hawthorn compensate you handsomely. Chapter 12. In the original novel, after the Hawthorn family went bankrupt, the original Sincere was framed and sent to prison, where he eventually died of stomach cancer. I made a point to go to the hospital for a full physical. Fortunately, my body was in good health. The doctor told me that as long as I maintained a regular diet, my stomach would be fine. I breathed a huge sigh of relief. As I was walking through the hospital lobby, I saw Willow Miller grabbing onto her attending physician and refusing to let go. Dr. Peterson, you can't abandon my grandmother, please. Just keep giving her the best medicine like before. I promise I'll pay the medical bills as soon as I can. Dr. Peterson sighed. Ms. Miller, I don't own the hospital. If you don't pay, forget the best medicine. She might not even get the standard ones soon. I'm just a doctor. Making things difficult for me won't help. You need to figure something out quickly. Dr. Peterson pulled his arm free from her grasp and hurried into the elevator. Willow squatted on the floor, her eyes turning red. No, Sincere, Vivian said desperately. I swear I never slept with him. And this, she pointed at the photo. I wasn't thinking straight that day. I'd had a little to drink. But it was just one kiss. She sobbed. I regretted it immediately. Apart from that one time, nothing else happened. You're so powerful you can check. There was really nothing else between us. I was wrong. I just got used to the flattery and the attention. I've always loved you, and I feel terrible about this. The investigation had, in fact, found no evidence that she had slept with Ethan. But so what? Is emotional betrayal not still betrayal? I advanced on her slowly until her back was against the cold wall, with nowhere to retreat. Vivian Ashwood. I leaned in, my voice a cold whisper by her ear. Do you know what I hate most? She trembled, too scared to answer. Betrayal. I didn't. Sincere, you can check. Emotional betrayal is still betrayal, I roared. Vivian froze, choking on her sobs. She took a deep breath, pulled out her phone, and started dialing. I was about to ignore her and walk out when my own phone suddenly rang. The familiar ringtone made Willow's body jolt. She looked up, saw it was me, and quickly stood up to block my path, saying through gritted teeth, Sincere Hawthorn, you win. I was completely baffled. What? Willow tilted her head up to look at me, her expression stubborn. Sincere, stop pretending. Isn't this what you wanted? To see me at my most desperate and pathetic? You just wanted to push me into a corner and force me to submit, didn't you? Well, you won. You did it. Are you satisfied now? Then she held out her hand to me, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. "Give it to me." I frowned deeply, unable to follow her train of thought. "Give you what?" She stared at me, her eyes full of mockery. "The bank card, of course. You followed me to the hospital just to see me in this state, didn't you? And then you'd show up at the critical moment to save me? Sincere Hawthorne, I know exactly what kind of person you are. Stop the act and just give me the card, Chapter 13. Her words didn't just shock me, they shocked the viewers of the live comments too. WTF, what's going on? Wasn't Mr. Hawthorne here for a checkup? Hey, the female lead is right. It looks like a checkup, but he was really here to laugh at her. The supporting character is so cringe. Did the person above not see the story? Mr. Hawthorne had no idea she was at the hospital, okay? The logic in these female-oriented novels is astounding, demanding money so brazenly my entire family is shocked. Mr. Hawthorne, I'm just passing by after my checkup, and she's invented a whole drama in her head? I looked at Willow's smug expression, so certain that she had seen through my plan. I couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing. The sound of my laughter made the self-satisfied look on her face freeze instantly. I straightened up and pulled a document from my inner jacket pocket, one I had prepared earlier, and held it in front of her. Asset freeze declaration. As of today, all bank cards, credit cards, and membership accounts in your name are frozen, I stated methodically. That engagement ring on your finger was my mother's family heirloom. Now give it back to me. Her tears finally fell, her hand flying to cover the ring as she shook her head desperately. Sincere, I know I was wrong. Please give me another chance. A chance? I sneered. I've given you far too many. I reached out, grabbed her wrist firmly, and began to slide the ring from her finger. Her nails dug into the back of my hand, drawing red lines, but I didn't even flinch. Charles, I called toward the door. My personal assistant immediately entered, holding a file. Miss Ashwood, this is a detailed list of all funds you have drawn from Mr. Hawthorne's accounts over the past 2 years, Charles said, his face impassive. Willow Miller, I said, stifling my laughter, my eyes filled with pity. Didn't I tell you to bring your brain with you? Or do you just not have one? They have a neurology department here. You should really get yourself checked out. I started to walk around her, but then I stopped abruptly. Oh, by the way, just a friendly reminder. I was the one who personally stopped payment on your grandmother's medical bills. Didn't you say you could get everything you wanted through your own merit? Well, I'm letting you. As for making you submit, I scanned her up and down, my tone contemptuous. What exactly do you think you have now that would make me want anything from you? Do you think your swollen face is alluring? Or do you find your penniless state, unable to even pay your grandmother's medical bills, particularly charming? I shook my head and scoffed. Willow Miller, the reality is, without my family, you are nothing to my surprise. After everything I said, Willow still looked at me as if she had me completely figured out. Fine, a complete waste of breath. It seems the heroines in these novels only ever believe their own judgment. Her face was still swollen, yet she was convinced I was in love with her. She looked at me with disdain. That's enough, Sincere. I've given you a way out. You should take it. Everyone knows you've only ever been good to me for the past decade. This whole playing hard to get act is really annoying. You don't understand me at all. Just then, a man in a white suit with a gentle appearance showed up. He stepped directly in front of Willow. The comments instantly boiled over. Whoa, look, our male protagonist is here. What kind of showdown is this? The male protagonist protecting the female lead, so sweet. Ah, Ethan is so handsome. The way he protects our Willow is so manly. Fight they have to fight. Yes, I want to see the classic scene of 2 men fighting over our Willow baby. Chapter 14. Ethan Jennings steadied Willow. This includes the $237,000 you transferred to Ethan Miller, as well as the luxury goods, medical bills, and other expenses paid on his behalf. The Hawthorne Group's legal department has already prepared a lawsuit. If you are unable to return the full amount within 30 days, we will sue you for embezzlement of property. Vivian's face went completely white. Her legs gave out and she collapsed onto the floor. No, Sincere, you can't do this. She looked up at me, her face a mess of tears. You promised I could have that money. You said I could spend it however I wanted. Yes, I did, I said, looking down at her. But I never said you could use my money to keep a boy toy. I turned and walked toward the door without a moment's hesitation. Wait, she suddenly lunged forward, wrapping her arms around my legs. Sincere, I really know I was wrong. I'll never do it again. Forgive me this one time, I promise. I looked down at her. Seeing the faint swelling on her cheeks, a flash of pain crossed his eyes. Sincere Hawthorne, how could you do this to Willow? Even if she rejected you, how could you kick her out of your house and lay a hand on her? And now you dare to cut off her grandmother's medical payments. You've gone too far. Willow leaned against Ethan's chest as if she had found her anchor. Her eyes immediately reddened, looking like she was about to burst into tears. Oh, great, another idiot. I stared at him with a half smile. Oh? Since Mr. Jennings is so protective of her, why don't you pay her grandmother's medical bills for her? His words made Ethan's heart sink. This was bad. He knew Willow's grandmother had been sick for over a decade. It was a bottomless pit. If he took on that responsibility, it would be impossible to shake off. His startup company was still in its infancy. He was still smarting from the $130,000 he had transferred to Willow earlier. This was a hot potato he absolutely could not catch. Her exquisite makeup was smeared by tears. Her expensive dress wrinkled and pooled on the floor. The woman who was once as proud as a peacock now looked as pathetic as a stray dog. Vivian Ashwood, I slowly crouched down, grabbing her chin and forcing her to look at me. Remember this day, because from this moment on you are bankrupt. 3 days later, on the S University campus forum, an anonymous post exploded. Finance department's goddess, Vivian Ashwood, exposed, cheating on billionaire fiancé, scammed him out of over $300,000. The post detailed their chat logs, intimate photos, and the bank transfers from Vivian to Ethan. Public opinion erupted. Vivian's social media accounts were unearthed, and the comment sections were flooded. She acts so high and mighty. Turns out she's just a gold digger. LMAO. The sugar daddy found out he was raising an ungrateful snake and kicked her to the curb. Heard she was thrown out of the mansion. Now she can't even afford tuition. Ethan didn't fare any better. His eyes darted around and his tone immediately weakened. That's a completely different matter. Sincere. You've been the one taking care of Willow and her grandmother all these years. How can you just wash your hands of them like this? Do you have no conscience at all? Hearing Ethan's words, Willow's body, nestled in his arms, went rigid. She looked up at him in disbelief. She had thought Ethan would agree without a moment's hesitation. Ethan felt extremely uncomfortable under Willow's gaze. He quickly made an excuse and fled. Willow, I have some things to take care of at the company. I have to go." Before Willow could even respond, Ethan's figure had vanished completely. The comments section exploded. WTF, he just ran away? Ha ha ha, I'm dying. Could the male protagonist have run any faster? I thought he was going to protect the female lead. I thought it was true love. Is this it? Ethan Jennings, things are getting dicey. Time to bail. What do you people know? Maybe he really did have something urgent at the company. Exactly what do you fakes know? Can't the male protagonist have an emergency? Something at the company? Could that excuse be any lamer? Willow was completely stunned. I couldn't be bothered to argue with her any longer. While she was still in a daze, I turned and walked away. Chapter 15. Over the next period, I began to systematically target Ethan Jennings's startup. The Hawthorne Group was the leading corporation in Newport City. His company, Ascend Corp., had just gotten off the ground. For me to deal with him was like a giant squashing an ant. Not only did I snatch the East Side Resort project from him, but I also intercepted every other project his company was pursuing. Ascend Corp was suddenly facing a life-or-death crisis. Ethan was frantic. He had boasted to his partners that he would definitely land the $500 million East Side project. Now, not only had he failed to get the project, but he was on the verge of bankrupting the company. The partners who had once flattered him no longer gave him any face. They pointed their fingers at him and cursed him out. Furious, Ethan arranged to meet Willow. In the park, a humiliated Ethan wore a grim expression. Willow Miller, why didn't the Hawthorne Group give up the East Side project? When you asked me for money, you promised me you would get it done. Is this how you trick me? Willow had been running around trying to raise money for her grandmother's medical bills and had been met with nothing but closed doors. Those best friends of hers were avoiding her like the plague. Her mood was already at rock bottom. Being questioned so aggressively by Ethan, her temper flared. Ethan Jennings, if you're so capable, why don't you go fight for it with your own skills? Instead of working hard yourself, you just expect others to hand projects to you. What is this, a startup or a charity case? Ethan's eyes widened. He never imagined that the usually gentle Willow would say such vicious things to him. His startup project was exposed for data fabrication, the investors collectively withdrew, and the university was even considering revoking his graduate school acceptance. Worse, the Hawthorne Group's legal department officially sent him a letter demanding the return of all improper gains. And all of this was just the beginning. Rainwater dripped down the rusty fire escape, forming a murky puddle at Vivian's feet. She clutched the handle of her suitcase, standing at the door of a low-income apartment. Rents $1,500 a month, deposit, and 3 months' rent up front. The landlord chewed on a piece of tobacco, spittle landing on the peeling doorframe. The girl next door works at a nightclub. It gets a little loud at night. The 150-square-foot room smelled of mildew, with yellowed mold spots visible where the paint had peeled. Vivian stood in the doorway, the hem of her Gucci dress brushing against a sticky stain on the frame. A loud argument, followed by the sound of a smashing bottle, erupted from the floor above. At that moment, all thoughts of love and affection flew out the window. "Willow Miller, you liar, when you called me for money, you gave me your word. What? Now that you have the money, you're going back on your promise, is that it?" It was evening, and many elderly people were strolling through the park. Seeing the two of them arguing with red faces, a crowd gathered around them. Being publicly shamed like this, the usually prideful Willow was livid. "Ethan Jennings, get your facts straight. Who gave you the initial $2 million to start your company? If I hadn't sold off the gifts Sincere gave me over the years, could you have come up with a single penny? If it weren't for me, with your parents from the middle of nowhere, who knows where you'd be waiting tables right now? And you have the nerve to shout at me?" Chapter 16. Ethan's eyes instantly turned red. "Willow Miller, you bitch! You dare to look down on my parents?" "At least my parents are alive and well. What about you? You jinxed your father to death, your mother ran off with another man, and now your grandmother is about to be jinxed by you too. You're a disaster, and you say that $2 million was yours. Do you really think you're some rich heiress? You're just a poor student, sponsored by the Hawthorne family. Now that they won't sponsor you anymore, aren't you the one calling me for money? Where do you get the right to look down on my parents?" Willow gritted her teeth so hard she wanted to lunge forward and bite him. "Ah, Ethan Jennings, I thought you were a kind person, but it turns out you're even more malicious. I must have been blind to have rejected Sincere all this time for a scumbag like you. I'm only just realizing now that compared to Sincere, you're not even worthy of polishing his shoes." What they didn't know was that a bystander had been live streaming their argument on the internet. "It was my assistant who told me to tune in. The stream was going viral." The noise made Vivian frown. "This place is awful. Can you go any lower on the price? Take it or leave it." The landlord turned to go. "If you don't want it, there's a line of people waiting to see it." "Wait, don't go," Vivian called him back. She mechanically pulled out the last of her cash. When the rusty security door slammed shut behind her, Vivian buried her face in her hands and wept. She didn't want to go back home. Her father would kill her. She deeply regretted her foolishness. She wanted Sincere's forgiveness. At least living here she was closer to his home. Maybe if Sincere saw how miserable I am, he'd soften and forgive me. After all, he used to dote on me so much. A light rain began to fall. Vivian stood in front of the Hawthorne Group headquarters, soaked to the bone, her long hair plastered to her pale face. She had lost her high heels somewhere along the way. Her stockings were torn and soaked, and her expensive dress clung to her body like a wrinkled rag. Watching these two tear each other apart was indescribably satisfying. The comments were completely dumbfounded. "WTF, what is happening? The main couple is stabbing each other with words? This is the love story you were all shipping? Ha ha ha, I'm dying. This is way better than those idol dramas, real exciting. Mr. Hawthorne, was this all part of your plan? A true hidden master, I love it. Mr. Hawthorne, I'm just here for the drama, don't mind me," their argument continued. Ethan, red-faced and furious, pointed at Willow and yelled, "What do you think you are, enjoying Sincere's material support while hitting on me? You're just a two-faced hypocrite who wants to have her cake and eat it too. Stop pretending to be so pure and innocent." "Ah, Ethan Jennings, I'm going to kill you," and then they actually started fighting. The elderly onlookers rushed to break them up, and someone even called the police. Chapter 17. That night, when I returned to the Hawthorne villa, I saw Willow standing under a streetlight not far away, her gaze fixed on me. She hesitated for a moment before walking towards me. Only then did I get a clear look at her bruised and swollen face. Sincere, she said, cautiously trying to reach for my arm, but my bodyguards blocked her. The plot had already deviated so severely. It was only prudent to have personal security with me at all times. I glanced at her coldly. "Is there something you need, Ms. Miller?" Willow was silent for a few seconds before speaking. I understand now. I was just confused before. Don't worry, nothing happened between me and Ethan Jennings. I'm clean." I frowned. "What are you trying to say?" She looked at me with a resentful expression, bit her lip, and continued. "Sincere, I've thought it through. I see my own heart clearly now. I'm not completely without feelings for you." She seemed to muster all her courage and looked at me with determination. "Sincere, I know you still like me. Let's start over, okay?" A security guard stood by the entrance holding an umbrella, his eyes showing a flicker of pity but mostly indifference. "Miss Ashwood, you should go home." The guard sighed. "Mr. Hawthorne said he won't see you." She looked up, rainwater streaming down her lashes like tears. "Please, just let me see him." Her voice was hoarse, her fingers digging into the pavement. "Just for 5 minutes. No, 3 minutes will do." The guard shook his head. "Mr. Hawthorne has an important meeting today. Please don't make my job difficult." Inside the building's glass doors, a few employees were stealing glances and whispering. "Is that Vivian Ashwood? Wasn't she so glamorous before? Serves her right using Mr. Hawthorne's money to keep a boy toy. Now that she's been dumped, she's back playing the victim. I heard they even took back her apartment. She's living in a slum now." Vivian heard their piercing comments and wished the ground would swallow her whole. She had never been so humiliated. "This time I'll never leave you again." Heh, so she wants me to be her savior again? I looked at Willow's swollen face, trying its best to squeeze out an expression of remorse and deep affection, and I felt nothing but disgust. "Start over? Willow Miller, do you think I'm stupid or just blind?" I slowly took a step forward, and the bodyguards parted slightly. "Time and time again you treated the gifts I gave you as humiliations, and behind my back you mocked me for being rich and stupid. Ethan Jennings was right about one thing. You're just a two-faced, hypocritical bitch who wants it all. I have status and money. I could find a dozen pretty faces like you in a heartbeat and they would be grateful to me, but you? What makes you think I would ever want you back?" Every word I spoke was like a sledgehammer, shattering the fragile fantasy and self-esteem Willow had just barely managed to piece back together. Her face turned deathly pale, and her body began to tremble uncontrollably. "No, it's not like that, Sincere. You have to let me explain." Tears instantly welled up in her eyes, combined with the bruises on her face. She did look rather pitiful. "I was deceived by Ethan Jennings. He manipulated me. I only realize now that you were the only one who was truly good to me. I know I was wrong. I'll never treat you like that again." I had no patience for any more of her nonsense and gave a direct order to my bodyguards. "See her out. And from now on, Willow Miller is not allowed within half a mile of the Hawthorne estate." "Yes, Mr. Hawthorne." A bodyguard immediately stepped forward, blocking my path. "Ms. Miller, if you please, no, Sincere, you can't do this to me." Willow panicked. She tried to rush towards me but was held back firmly by 4 bodyguards. "Sincere, I know I was wrong. Please give me another chance. I promise I'll be good to you from now on. And she had never realized so clearly what she had lost. Flashback. 3 days ago when she was kicked out of Hillcrest Manor, she only had time to grab a handbag. All her cards were frozen. She couldn't even afford a taxi. She stood on the roadside trying to contact the besties who had once fawned over her, only to receive cold replies. "Vivian, it's not that I don't want to help, but Mr. Hawthorne has made it clear. Anyone who helps you is going against him. Are you insane? You cross Sincere Hawthorne for some poor student? What's the point of coming to me now?" In the end, she had to drag her suitcase to the nearest cheap rental she could find. The room was small and damp. The bedsheets had suspicious stains, and the bathroom faucet dripped endlessly. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the meager balance on her phone, and finally broke down completely. She truly had nothing left. Present day, the rain grew heavier. "I won't cause any more trouble, Sincere." I paused in my tracks and said, with my back to her, "Willow Miller, if Ethan Jennings had never appeared, I might have given you one more chance. But now, it's absolutely impossible. You still haven't sorted out your grandmother's medical bills, have you? The situation you're in now is all Ethan's fault. If you want someone to blame, go find him. Don't ever appear in front of me again." She had grown up with only her grandmother. Her grandmother was arguably the most important person in her life. Without the imported medicine, she wouldn't live much longer. It was better to let Ethan Jennings bear the weight of that hatred. After saying my piece, I walked away without a backward glance, leaving her piercing cries behind me. Chapter 18. Over the next few weeks, Willow called me hundreds of times. I never answered. She sent me long, rambling text messages, all ending with a plea for me to pay for her grandmother's treatment. I ignored them all and eventually just blocked her number. One day, as I was organizing some files, the long-absent comment suddenly exploded in my vision. WTF, what happened? The female lead's grandmother died, and she transferred all her hatred onto the male protagonist. She's lost her mind. She stabbed the male protagonist 13 times. Oh my God, did this savior novel with a happy ending just turn into a crime novel with a bad ending? The main couple is dead and in jail. This plot twist is insane. I really didn't see that coming. Mr. Hawthorne became the biggest winner, turning from a supporting character into the true protagonist. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The savior novel modifier, Mr. Hawthorne. He's just so damn cool. Goodbye to this stupid plot, I attended Willow's sentencing. When she saw me, she burst into tears, her eyes filled with regret. A small smile played on my lips. But what did any of this have to do with me? Vivian's legs were numb, but she stood there stubbornly, as if it were her last hope. Finally, a black Maybach glided into the building's underground parking garage. The window was half open, and she caught a glimpse of Sincere's profile, cold, indifferent, not even sparing her a single glance. Sincere. She shot to her feet and staggered after the car, but the security guard blocked her way. Sincere, let me explain, she screamed, her voice raw. I really know I was wrong, just give me one more chance. The car continued without pausing, disappearing into the garage and out of her sight. Vivian collapsed onto the ground, rainwater and tears mixing in her mouth, a bitter, salty taste. She knew she had been utterly abandoned. I stood at my office window, looking down at the tiny figure below. Charles stood behind me, reporting in a low voice. Mr. Hawthorne, Miss Ashwood is still standing downstairs. Should I leave her? I turned, taking a sip of the coffee on my desk. Let's see how long she can stand. And about Ethan Miller. It turned out that without the salvation from me, the male supporting character, the female lead of this savior novel, met such a miserable end. But it was all her own doing. And now that I was free from this ridiculous plot, my real, wonderful life was just beginning. The end, confetti. Has the legal notice been delivered? Yes, but he currently has no ability to repay the debt. The university has also rescinded his scholarship. I chuckled softly. Then let's make him a little more desperate. Charles understood immediately and made a call. Inform all our corporate partners that the name Ethan Miller is to be placed on the Hawthorne Group's blacklist. I wanted them both to fully understand the meaning of no way out. The morning rush hour subway was packed like a can of sardines. Vivian hadn't wanted to take the subway, but she was out of money. She had an appointment at a consignment shop to sell one of her designer bags for some cash. On the train, she was squashed between the smells of sweat and breakfast buns. Someone stepped on her new, cheap high heel, knocking it off. As she bent down to retrieve it, a man behind her pushed impatiently. What's the hold up? The screen in the car was playing financial news. A glimpse of Sincere Hawthorne's profile flashed across it. She subconsciously touched her neck where a 7-figure diamond necklace used to sit. Now there was only a faint tan line. This is from the new collection, 5,800. The sales associate at the Dior boutique gently pushed away Vivian's hand as she tried to touch a dress. Would Miss Ashwood like to try it on? Her eyes scanned the pilled cuffs of Vivian's sweater. I'm not here to buy, Vivian said awkwardly. I have an appointment for second-hand consignment. Oh, I see, the associate pointed. The buyback counter is over there. A familiar mocking laugh came from behind her. Her former friend Isabel Richardson was clinging to her new boyfriend's arm, deliberately raising her voice. They let just anyone into these stores now. You'd think she'd look in a mirror first. Vivian didn't want to argue and hurried away. Isabel said to the new intern, That's the one who got dumped by Mr. Hawthorne. I heard she used his family's money to keep a boy toy. I have no idea why you even let her in under the authentication light at the consignment shop. The owner pointed to a tiny crack on the edge of Vivian's Birkin bag. "There's a flaw here. 800 max." The owner put the bag back on the counter. "Besides, it's last year's model. Everyone's carrying the Chanel 22 now." She nodded helplessly. Finally, she walked out of the store clutching a wad of crumpled bills. "You have the nerve to come home?" Her father, Walter Ashwood, smashed a teacup at her feet. "This whole family was counting on you to marry into the Hawthorne family. And look what happened now, even my building materials orders have been canceled." Her mother, Eleanor Ashwood, stuffed a few bills into her hand. "Your cousin needs a sales assistant at her boutique. Go for an interview tomorrow." She paused, then added, "And don't tell them you're an Ashwood." Late at night, suggestive sounds echoed from the other side of the thin partition wall of her shared apartment. Vivian applied a cheap drugstore face mask, the harsh fragrance making her eyes water. Her phone suddenly lit up. A message from Ethan Miller flashed on the lock screen.
"Vivian, I can't take it anymore. Sincere Hawthorne is trying to destroy us."
She turned off the screen. The neon lights from outside filtered through the grimy curtains, casting a fragmented shadow on the face that had once captivated the city's wealthiest bachelors. A crowd had gathered in front of the announcement board at S University. Ethan pushed through, his eyes fixed on the newly posted scholarship list. National scholarship, his name wasn't on it. "How is this possible?" he muttered, his fists clenched so tight they turned white. Students around him whispered, occasionally glancing his way with undisguised contempt. "Did you hear? His startup project was all fake data. All the investors pulled out. Serves him right you don't leech off Sincere Hawthorne's girl and get away with it. Wow, a debt of over $100,000. He'll be paying that off for the rest of his life, right?" Ethan spun around abruptly, shoving his way out of the crowd. In the dean's office, his academic advisor pushed a letter across the desk. "Your graduate school acceptance has been revoked," the advisor said coolly. "You failed the comprehensive evaluation." Ethan's throat tightened. "Why?" "My grades were good enough." The advisor gave him a meaningful look. "Character issues. We received an anonymous tip." He understood instantly. Sincere Hawthorne's name didn't even need to be mentioned to destroy his entire future. In his shared apartment, the smell of mildew and instant noodles hung in the air. Ethan stared at his computer screen, the email in his inbox stinging his eyes. "Dear Mr. Miller, we regret to inform you that the internship offer we extended has been rescinded due to strategic adjustments within the company." It was the only offer he'd received after sending out 27 resumes. And now, it was gone. He grabbed his phone and frantically dialed Vivian's number. No answer. 3 days later, a legal notice stamped with the red seal of the Hawthorne Group's legal department was delivered to him. Demand for repayment of improper gains, a total of $327,000. Ethan's hands began to shake. He could never earn that much money in his entire life. Late that night, Ethan cornered Vivian outside her apartment building. She looked even more haggard than the last time they'd met. Her once perfect makeup was gone, and her clothes were obviously cheap. "Where's the money?" Ethan grabbed her wrist, his voice raw. "Hawthorne is demanding over 300 grand from me." "Are you trying to get me killed?" Vivian yanked her arm away, her eyes filled with disgust. "Get lost, I can barely survive myself. If you hadn't seduced me, giving me money, would I be in this mess?" Ethan's face was twisted with rage. "Go beg Sincere Hawthorne. You slept with him for years, didn't you?" A sharp slap landed across his face. "You ruined me," Vivian screamed hysterically. "You were the one who wanted all the luxury crap. You were the one who said all those disgusting things. Don't you dare play the victim." Now Ethan wiped a smear of blood from his lip and suddenly laughed. "Vivian Ashwood, you think you're so clean? Who was the one sending me late-night texts? Who said Sincere Hawthorne didn't understand you?" He took a step closer. "If I'm going down, you're coming with me at the consignment shop." The owner examined the watch Ethan had brought in. "A Patek Philippe? This has to be fake," the owner sneered. "I'll give you 300 for it. This watch is worth over $200,000, Ethan yelled, losing control. "Take it or leave it." The owner tossed the watch back. The Hawthorne Group put the word out. "Who would dare buy anything from you?" Ethan froze, a cold dread washing over him. Late that night, in his tiny, shared room, Ethan sat on his bed, staring at the business plan taped to the wall, what was once his dream. Now, it was covered in black holes from cigarette burns. His phone screen lit up with a text from an unknown number, Mr. Miller, regarding the reimbursement for your mother's surgery. An audit has revealed evidence of insurance fraud. The case has been turned over to the authorities. His hand began to tremble violently. With a final desperate cry, he hurled the phone against the wall. Hawthorne? He stared at the shattered screen on the floor, his expression shifting from despair to madness. You really want to push me to the edge, don't you? Starbucks, morning rush hour. There were coffee stains under Vivian's fingernails, and the cuffs of her cheap uniform were yellowed with milk stains. A burn mark scarred her wrist, a souvenir from spilling a hot Americano last week. Venti caramel macchiato. A man in a business suit tapped impatiently on the counter. Can you hurry it up? I'm in a rush. Right away, sir, she mumbled, keeping her head down. The espresso machine roared to life, steam hitting her red, swollen hands. The pain brought tears to her eyes. She mechanically sealed the cup. As she looked up to hand it over, her gaze drifted through the window and suddenly froze. The sun was shining brightly in front of the Cartier jewelry store. She saw Sincere, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, standing by the entrance. And beside him stood a tall woman with a sharp bob, a designer beige suit, and a discreetly expensive watch on her wrist. The store manager was personally escorting them out, his smile deferential. Mr. Hawthorne, Miss Sinclair, the ring has been adjusted to your specifications. An assistant took the beautifully wrapped bag. Sincere turned his head slightly and said something to the woman beside him. She laughed, her expression radiating a confidence and poise Vivian had never possessed. They stood together, looking like they were born to stand side by side. The coffee cup slipped from Vivian's hand. Crash, scalding coffee splashed onto her pants and shoes, ceramic shards scattering across the floor. What is wrong with you? The customer roared. Do you have any idea how much this suit costs? The manager rushed over and grabbed her arm. Vivian, this is the third time this week. If you don't want to work here, then get out. But she couldn't hear him. Her eyes were locked on the scene outside. Sincere's gaze swept past the coffee shop, across the spot where she stood, without a hint of recognition, as if she were just another part of the scenery. He didn't even recognize her. A black Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up silently to the curb. The chauffeur respectfully opened the door. Sincere placed a guiding hand on the smallest companion's back as they gracefully entered the car. The sunlight glinted off the polished exterior, so bright it hurt Vivian's eyes. What are you crying for? The manager shoved her. Clean this mess up, then go to HR and collect your final paycheck. You're fired. Tears mixed with spilled coffee, creating a dirty stain on the front of her cheap uniform. She finally completely understood the difference between the clouds and the mud. She couldn't accept it. She decided to make one last, desperate gamble. If she couldn't be his wife, she'd settle for being his mistress or even his servant. That night a storm raged outside Hillcrest Manor. Rain streamed from the ends of Vivian's hair. She was soaked to the bone, standing outside the villa's wrought iron gate, her fingers gripping the bars. The light from the security booth illuminated her pale face. Her once perfect makeup had been washed away, leaving behind dark circles under her eyes. Her lips were purple from the cold. Sincere, Sincere, she called out his name, her voice raw. I stood at the second-floor study window, coldly observing her pathetic state, like a stray cat caught in the rain, pitiful and pathetic. Charles walked over with an umbrella and asked in a low voice, Mr. Hawthorne, should I have her removed? I was silent for a moment, then turned and went downstairs. The moment the main gate opened, Vivian's eyes lit up. She stumbled inside, trembling as if grasping her last lifeline. Sincere, she knelt on the ground, looking up at me, tears and rain streaming down her face. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I looked down at her, not offering a hand, not saying a word. She shuffled forward on her knees and grabbed my pant leg, her voice choked with sobs. I shouldn't have lied to you. I shouldn't have seen Ethan. But I swear, I never loved him. I've always loved you. Her hands clutched my trousers as if trying to rip her heart out to show me. I don't need money or jewelry. I don't need anything. I just want to come back to you, to love you properly. Her hot tears fell onto my shoes. Please, just give me one more chance. I slowly crouched down, grabbing her chin and forcing her to look up. My reflection stared back from her pupils, cold, calm, without a ripple of emotion. Vivian, I let out a soft laugh. Is it really me you love? Her breath caught. You love the power of the Hawthorne Group, the title of Mrs. Hawthorne, the life of extravagant spending. My fingers tightened slightly. If I were the one going bankrupt today, would you still be kneeling here telling me you don't need anything? The color drained from her face. I would. Do you even believe the words coming out of your mouth? I let go and stood up, looking down at her. You can't even fool yourself. Sincere, please take me back. Even if I can't be your wife, I can be your mistress, your maid. I just want to be with you. I don't care about anything else. I can't live without you. Unfortunately for you, I can live very well without you. Get out, I said coldly, turning to leave. Don't make me say it again. She collapsed on the floor as if her soul had been ripped from her body. Rainwater dripped from her hair, forming a murky puddle on the marble floor. After a long time, she finally staggered to her feet and walked back out the gate. The storm continued to pour, her figure blurred in the rain, eventually disappearing into the darkness, as if she had never been there at all. Hawthorne Group Tower. Top floor office. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city's lights began to flicker on as dusk settled. I stood by the window, a freshly poured glass of whiskey in hand, the ice slowly melting in the amber liquid. Charles knocked and entered, holding a few documents. Mr. Hawthorne, the situation with Ethan Miller has been resolved, he said, placing the files on my desk. The university expelled him for academic misconduct. Debt collection is underway, but he has no assets to his name, so it's unlikely he'll be able to repay it anytime soon. I glanced at the file. It contained a photo of Ethan leaving the university. His once handsome face was now gaunt, his figure slumped and pathetic as he dragged his suitcase away. What about his mother's medical bills? It was verified. Certain procedures were indeed deemed excessive treatment. Charles adjusted his glasses. The hospital has refunded $150,000. The rest will be recovered in installments. I nodded, my gaze falling on another newspaper, a financial daily. Ashwood Building Materials capital chain snaps, multiple projects halted. The accompanying photo showed Vivian's father standing in front of an empty factory, his hair now mostly gray. The Ashwood family won't last the quarter, Charles stated calmly. The banks have already rejected their loan applications. I didn't say anything, just turned the page. In the corner of the news section, inconspicuous human interest story. Former socialite photographed working in coffee shop. Glory days are over. The photo showed Vivian in a Starbucks uniform, her hair messily tied back, head down as she wiped up a coffee spill. It was a blurry photo, but you could still see the dark circles under her eyes and her rough skin. The diamond earrings once worth $1 million had been replaced by a $10 pair of plastic studs from a street vendor. I folded the newspaper and tossed it into the trash. Outside, a helicopter bearing the Hawthorne Group logo flew across the sky. On my desk was the proposal for my latest project, a $3 billion investment in new energy development in Southeast Asia. Beside it was a proposal for a charity called the Firefly Project, aimed at sponsoring the education of young girls in impoverished mountain regions. The tip of my pen paused on the paper for a moment as I looked out the window. The city was as prosperous as ever, with its endless traffic and glittering lights, but some people and some things were now completely in the past. Notify the foundation. I signed my name, the strokes as sharp as a knife. The Firefly Project launches next week. The moment I set down my pen, the office door clicked quietly shut.